Hi, everybody. Many years ago, I had the privilege of working in a hospital emergency department. It was a level 2 trauma center, and I worked second shift with a nurse that I'm going to call John. It was intense work, as you might imagine. We were dealing with car accidents, people having heart attacks and other kinds of health crises. And we also were dealing with routine things like earaches and kids needing stitches, maybe for the first time. In those days, we didn't have a place to send folks for just routine care, so it all was happening all at once, right in our unit. Dinner, if you ate at all, was usually cold pizza and chocolate that people just brought into the break room and dropped. There was no taking a break to stretch your legs or to get some fresh air. It just wasn't part of the culture. It wasn't a rule. It just was part of what we did in a very busy emergency department. Apart from John's kindness, his courage, and his true brilliance, what I really remember about him was that during the time we worked together, he started smoking. It really struck me because John was in his 30s already and he had never smoked before. And I realized that he had taken up smoking because it was the only way that he could step back from the work. It was the only way that anybody in the department could legitimately step away, was to go outside for a cigarette. Nobody else took breaks in that department. And it really struck me that, again, it was a culture thing, not necessarily a rule. Too many of us have lives that are focused on the doing, and somehow the being in our lives, the taking the break, relaxing, and just kind of sitting with ourselves takes short shrift or gets short shrift. Whether that's taking a break, taking a vacation, we don't spend time for that. So even though I've specialized in self-care and taking care of other care partners, I've struggled with this myself. And this is an area where I think we all could pay more attention. I've been a clinician, I've been a gerontology professor, I've been a public speaker, I've been a lifelong learner, I've been a daughter, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, and I'm an educator and mentor for the Eden Alternative. And in February of this year, I closed my counseling practice and I moved back to my home state of Pennsylvania. And this all happened just before the pandemic. So after working for more than 40 years in aging and elder care and as a health educator, I wasn't surprised about my need for some rest. I was very surprised, though, by how peaceful I felt and how quiet my mind was and how much I really appreciated just being in my new space, which is surrounded by trees and full of sunlight. And I've been thinking about how I got to this place where I could really be comfortable with being and letting go of the need to be doing, which had really marked my life for decades. I'm thinking a lot about Dr. Bill Thomas, who is a co-founder of the Eden Alternative. He writes about being and doing in his book, What Are Old People For? How Elders Will Save the World. And he talks about being and doing as two sides of the same ribbon. And as care partners, I think we all have a tendency to skew towards doing because we want to do for others. We're very caring people in that way. But that lack of balance isn't good for our own well-being. And in the end, it can damage our ability to care properly for other people. Being is like the exhalation of each in-breath or inhalation that we take. It's part of the normal rhythm and cycle of life. So my message today is that you don't have to wait until you retire or until a pandemic forces you into lockdown or until stress itself makes you sick to practice being. Even in the most intense times, you can connect to being. In fact, learning how to be in the moment can help you cope with stress, perform at peak level, and truly connect to the person with whom you are sharing care, rather than just reacting to the stressors and to the chaos and demands around you. Mindful awareness is a simple technique that will help you cultivate a practice of being even in the midst of real chaos. So I'd like to take just a moment to show you a simple practice that involves tuning into what your senses are experiencing in the moment. And I'd like to invite you to just start by taking a nice deep breath, letting the air fill your lungs and your belly, and then exhale fully. So take that deep breath and then just let it fall out. You can even make a noise if you want to. And now just look around you. Look around the room that you're in, wherever you are. Take in what your sense of vision is experiencing. It might be a color that catches your eye. It could be a shape, a shadow, whatever it is that's coming to you through your sense of vision. And then move on. And the next thing we'll do, and you might want to close your eyes for this part, is listen for a moment. Pay attention to what sounds you might be able to hear, those that are in the room with you, and those that maybe seem like they're coming from beyond the room where you're sitting. I'll be quiet for a moment so you can listen to this. Now notice any scents or aromas that might be coming to your sense of smell. What do you notice? And finally, pay attention to what your skin is experiencing. The feeling of the chair beneath your thighs and back, where your clothing is touching your skin, and perhaps there's a breeze that's brushing against your hands or your face. Can you feel your feet against the floor? And we can end with another breath. And when you're ready, if you've closed your eyes, take your time and open them. And just notice that you're in the room that you're in, and connect again to the community that we're sharing right now. What was it like for you to tune in to what your senses are noticing, even for this brief moment? Your senses are taking all this in all the time. That's a lot of input. And paying attention to just consciously, mindfully for that moment is a way to reduce stress. This is a short sample of a mindful awareness exercise and practice that you can use on a daily basis. I like to connect it and apply it to the framework that Dr. Bill Thomas talks about when he talks about MESH, M-E-S-H. This is a daily practice where the M in MESH stands for movement. This stands for the need for us to move every day, even if it's just taking a walk. If you practice mindful awareness while you're walking in nature, it can greatly enhance your enjoyment of that experience. Instead of having your mind spinning about all the things you need to do when you get back from your walk, connecting with what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, and feeling on that walk is a wonderful way to be in the moment. You can do it with any other kind of exercise as well, like yoga or stretching, calisthenics, anything. E in MESH stands for eating, and studies have shown that eating mindfully can help you enjoy your food more, eat more healthfully and more slowly, and you can even lose weight by using this technique if that's your goal. The S in MESH stands for sleeping, and I absolutely use this technique if I'm having trouble falling asleep or if I've awakened in the night. Tuning into what I'm hearing or seeing can really help me get back to sleep quickly. And the H is for healing, and this practice is the first thing that I teach my clients that I work with. It helps us to realize that we're not victims of our chaotic environments and that we are more than our thoughts, our emotions, and our sensations. It's an easy but a very powerful way to ground ourselves and to get centered. I will put a link to the full mindful awareness exercise in the comments. And I just want to let you know that this comes from Andrew Subert, who was my mentor, who taught me how to do some trauma-informed approaches with my clients. And he's with Clear Path Healing Arts Center. I invite you to practice it for a few minutes every day. And anytime throughout the day that you think of it, just doing it for 60 seconds can really bring your stress levels down and help you really be in the midst of doing. It's helped me a lot, and I think it really prepared me for this stage of my life where I'm doing a lot less and enjoying being a lot more. I'd like to just thank you all for being with me in today's Eden Moment.